All right, we're live. We are live. It's been a minute. What's up, everyone? Twitch and YouTube. It's gonna be a very interesting day. Today is day 30. So, shout out to everyone who's been keeping an eye on this bootcamp. It's been a long one, but I'm proud to say we have shared pretty much everything. And today is even more special. I'm going to be sharing an updated IG guide. So my very second video on my channel was about my IG. So it's going to be interesting for anyone who's watched that one and comparing it to this one, because it's going to be more focused on what I've learned within these 4 months of my entire journey. And at this point, I've made over 250 million views on IG, something around 250. I wanted to say 300, but I'm not sure if I hit 300 yet. But on this account, I have 2 IGs, and one of them is over 220 easily. And that's why I'm going to be sharing everything I've learned today, especially with the new updates on IG. There's a lot of new things which you should be optimizing and using for your benefit to get more leads. So without any further ado, let's get started. Today is all about IG. And as you may know, a lot of people are saying TikTok is dead. It's been a long time where people have been strongly promoting IG. I want to touch the foundations a bit to why IG is the move before we get into the advanced stuff. But even if it sounds simple, it's very important. You need to understand IG is the only platform where you could actually have leads contacting you on a daily basis, and you get free sales with the help of 2 things, which I've actually never mentioned before. So all of the top creators on IG, regardless of what they do, okay, if they are generating leads on social media, they use 2 things. They use bots to reply to comments and even to DMs. That way they can create an automated system. I'm gonna call it passive. This is the passive income sort of. That's the only way you could make it actually passive, okay? Usually, from experience, it takes a lot of time to reply to people and comments, all of that. For that reason, you could actually automate it. The second reason, which I haven't mentioned last time, is there's new features. The first one is trial reels. So I'm just breaking down the simple things, yet very important, which I haven't spoken about previously, so that this time we could focus on. Third point, I'm gonna talk about audience. So there's a few things. If you've seen my previous videos, you would know that I was testing new methods to retarget and find better leads. Now I've tested and I have results that will prove to me what works and what doesn't work. So it took me quite some time because I had to create a different IG account on a different phone and have someone from the US create the account for me. And then I had to go viral, and now it's generating me 10 million views per month plus. So it took me this long to know whether it's worth it or not. So I'll be sharing it here as well. Let's see, is there something else I'd like to mention or highlight in this video? Markets. All right, these are the top or the most highlighted topics for today. Yo, what's up, boys? Yeah, I'm reading chat today, don't worry. Yo, P-Make, welcome, bro. Boys, is this WoW? No, today we're not playing WoW. We're talking business, okay? Really important. And the beauty of this is that you could apply whatever you learn here to whatever business you do. Whether you're trying to sell, whatever you sell, you need attention. And that's why this is important, okay? So it took me some time to understand these, but I'm sure about the information I'm going to be sharing today. So let's go. Let's start off with, let's see, what's the most important thing here, audience. When you get a lot of views, you're gonna struggle with audience. You're gonna understand that there's good leads. This is something which every single marketer in the world struggle with, and they are constantly looking into improving their quality of leads. And by quality of leads, I mean, are they interested in your product? Are you hitting the right niche, the right demographic, whether it's male or female, whether it's the right country? List goes on. So it would highly depend on your product, but for the most part, especially when people ask me what sort of product would I qualify as a winner, oftentimes I link it to the audience. This is one thing which not a lot of people talk about, and it's actually one of the most important indicators of whether your product is good or not. And I'm gonna put one thing from now, okay, which might sound controversial to some, but I've said this before when having conversations with friends. We agreed that oftentimes when you see people making crazy amount of money with dumb products, it really comes down to the audience. The only way, or the only time you could get away running a very dumb product, by dumb I mean low value, so a meme product or a product where it's just a pump and dump with no long-term sustainability, most of the times you have a very good market, aka you have a very good audience. So whether you live in the US, Germany, whatever, I mean, personally I would say US, Germany, basically EU, what else? Australia, Canada, these are some of the best markets. So if you live in these countries and you could, by the way, living there is not enough. There's a bit of RNG, aka a bit of luck to it. So regardless of your location, there's a chance you have a bad account, but it's half a problem, okay? It's half a problem. If you create enough accounts and you try enough, you will eventually find the right account, and that's where you print. So where am I going with this? What I'm trying to say is some people have actually made it work and they share the results by showing you guys that they've made a lot of money, but oftentimes it's because of the audience, not the product. If you can make a product or anything go viral and then you get the right audience to watch it, you're most likely going to make sales, regardless of what it is. So that's why I'm talking about all of this, is because audience is actually your number one priority. I've said in the past that product is the number one most important thing. The update of today, as of me running so many products and generating so many views, the number one important factor to whether you're going to make money or not is, like with dropshipping, is actually making sure that you target the right audience. So once you have this ticked, you're actually on easy mode, because you just now need a product which has good enough reasons to go viral. So it's semi-trendy, and which is preferably with some sort of value. I've made a bunch of videos about the criteria which you should follow. I hope you know this by now if you've been following along with me. But basically something that's customizable so that you couldn't find it, or you wouldn't find it in Amazon or whatever. And then 2, it has a long-term vision, so you could run this for the next year with no regrets and even create a brand out of it. Thirdly, it has a good audience. So if you tick these 3 boxes, for the most part, you have a good product and you can get off the ground, because the hardest part with dropshipping in general is getting off the ground. I've said this before, really important to understand. With any sort of service-based business, you can just find one client and you're off the ground. This is zero. You have one client, let's say they pay 2.5K or 3K. You're technically, moving, you're doing something. So On the other hand, dropshipping is more like, instead of one client, it would be 10 products, and then you'd have to keep on testing these 10 products with minimum return. So I would put it somewhere like this. So let's say here is your 1K. So you've tested 10 products, but you still haven't reached 1K in revenue. That's how bad it is. So you really need to find a good product before you can actually make some revenue with dropshipping. So it's not easy. And that's the harsh truth which a lot of people try to hide when trying to promote this business model. But yeah, as promised, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. So for you to have a better chance, you need to figure out how to set up your accounts, how to make sure your audience is properly, your account is properly primed so that you could get the right audience. There's a few ways, such as, okay, let's say you don't live in these such countries and you'd like to market to these countries. Then here's the thing. If you are using TikTok, then SIM card is enough. But since we're talking about IG, and I mean, it makes sense to me at least. IG is the highest ROI in terms of views and followers and everything, but it's more challenging to set up. So TikTok is actually on easy mode. You could just put in a SIM card, you have US audience. But for IG, it's way harder. It's not that easy. And here is where my first controversy, or the first question which I've had 4 months ago, I have an answer for today. So what is this question? If you want to target, let's say, the US audience on IG, and obviously US SIM card does not work, and you don't want to use a VPN, for example, then your next question might be, should I just make someone in the US create me an account? That was my question 4 months ago. Now I have an answer. So I've had someone create the account, I've went viral, I've actually generated more than 10 million views, and still my analytics dashboard did not reveal the numbers, but I can clearly see from my comment sections that it's global. So I have views from everywhere, good and badlies. For that reason, I'm gonna give you the answer that having someone create your account somewhere else will not work. I think it's linked to your IP. For that reason, the first controversy, which is important for me to reveal in this video, so that you don't waste time. I'm basically saving you time in case you wanted to try this. Okay, so having someone create your account would not work. So creating an account in X country does not equal to X country's views. Okay, that's the first controversy, which I hope you guys are clear with now. So what's next? What's the next best option if this doesn't work? Well, there's literally no other option other than a few things. The second controversy, which I'm trying to figure out, or the next solution which I'm trying to test, again, we're trying to see whether we can find a solution without using the VPN method, because a lot of people have problems with it, so it's very buggy, and generally it's just better to not do it. For that reason, I'm not doing it. I'm trying to find a way where I could reach these sort of audiences. By the way, I already have my follower percentage is around 20% US, and then another 20% Mexico or 15% Mexico. So I have a bunch of followers, surprisingly, which are from really good countries. And my page is over 50K followers. But still, I'm looking at views. So in terms of views, to optimize the reach to the desired country, I would say your best next solution would be setting age. I think it's called restriction. Setting restrictions. Yeah. To certain countries. So age restriction for certain countries. there's a new feature, I think. I'm not sure if this is a new feature, but this is something which recently dropshippers have been finally, realizing or putting their eyes on. So this way you could actually restrict certain countries where you would not like views from them, to see your content. It's a high risk because maybe your account will get 0 views afterwards. So I'm very new to this new feature, but I've seen some people do this. Based off what they've told me, it works very well. But those people are living in EU, so maybe they didn't really need it. Maybe their accounts were good anyways. So yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of controversies with IG. It's not as easy. It's not as straightforward as TikTok. So that's your best bet after creating an account. But yeah, since I have like 2 phones and stuff, I'm just gonna try to set the age restriction to one of my phones and then the other one without it, and then I could compare. But the main reason I haven't done it till now is because I'm just printing views. I get so many views. So for that reason, I'm like, the way I look at it is, if I get 40%, if I get like 1 million views and then 40% are going to unwanted leads, I can rely on the 60%. It's way better than not going viral in the first place. That's my philosophy behind it. And it's working well for me, okay? So yeah, that's my second best solution for it. The third one is obviously better content. So you could change up your content, and this has worked for me. When I got my first 200 million views on IG, I was focusing primarily on controversy. And I'm sorry to break it down to you guys. Controversial content does not convert. So it might be good at the start to get quick views, but it's not good or sustainable long term. So I would only go for controversial content at the start if your account is new, but then try to lower it down because nobody's gonna buy. So switching my content to better quality and branded content have actually increased my CVR per million views. So that's one of the ways where I've solved this first problem. So again, let's recap. If you wanna get US audience on IG and you don't wanna use a VPN, then your second best bet is to restrict countries based off age, and then improve your content. That's 2. But then 3, which I'm gonna put literally here on the top, which is the most important, is avoid products which attracts low quality leads. This is the most important one. If you were to pick a product which is purely based off emotions, for example, couples, for example, you're more likely to get quality leads because you're getting couples to watch your content, which are more likely to be able to purchase your product, in comparison with a product which is for kids, where they have to show it to their parents and then convince their parents to buy it for them. So that's actually the most important way to increase your CVR regardless of where you are, which is this one. Another trick over here, which is language. If you were to use foreign or like a specific language, for example, Spanish language, because for some reason my views are, I think my views are 20%, if not more, to like going to Spanish speaking countries. I would say around 30%. So I was actually considering at one point maybe just switching my content to Spanish. It's more risky for an established page, but you could try it even with a new page, regardless of where you are. Create content in a specific language and then see how it performs. So avoid English. If you have really bad quality of leads, avoid English to change your audience. And then your last resort is obviously the VPN method. So there you go. That's pretty much my top advice to get better quality leads. But yeah, this will lead us to the next point. So now let's say you actually have good quality leads. This will take us to the next point, which is how to optimize and how to make the most out of your good account. So let's say you have set up your account and it's good to go. First thing you want to do is, I want you to focus on trial reels. This is a very new feature which came out like, I think 2 months ago on IG. And if you're unaware of what trial reels are, simply, it means you can repost your old content or basically post whatever you want, just like a normal reel, but then it's going to be shared to non-following pages. So let's say you have 100K followers and you would like to, repost your viral content, but you don't want your, pre-existing followers to watch it over and over again and then unfollow you. For that reason, you post it as a trial reel, which makes your post not show up on your, reel grid. Instead, it would have a separate page, and whoever watches this will be a non-follower. So that way you can attract new followers. This is a very powerful tool, and I've actually seen some people making the most out of it by the following method, which is they repost all viral content. So that's the first thing you can do. Repost all of your viral content, because obviously you don't get shadow banned. 2, you would like to preferably split test viral content. For example, different text, music, and one thing I want to say about trial reels, let me see. Try to just get one normal post or one normal reel per day. Again, this is for more established accounts. So if you have a good account with over 5K, 10K followers, do this strategy, which is post once a day to your followers, and then you could post up to 5 to 10 trial reels per day, doesn't matter. But make sure that your account is good. You can figure out whether it's good or not by checking your analytics, so you can check where the views are going. I think, this is my personal opinion of how to optimize this. I would say if you set this one, so set age restriction to certain countries, so this way you only allow views from your desired audiences. That way, because here's the problem, I've realized one very crucial thing with trial reels: it will react as if you have just created your account. So when I first created my account, my audience was very, in terms of quality of lead, it was really bad. So that's what trial reels does. It doesn't use any pre-existing data. It just acts like as if you're creating a new account. So for the, most likely for the first few posts, you're gonna have really bad views in terms of quality. And that's where the problem comes, right? You need to make sure that your viewers are going to the right countries. So set these restrictions, post your trial reels, and then you're going to increase your chance of finding better content, better viewers. Let me see if there's something to wrap trial reels up with. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, just make sure that you have a good account and post as much as possible and split test. Next point. Where was it? So now we have trial reels done, audience is done, bots, okay. Again, really important. This is more important if you are getting a bunch of views and you cannot catch up with them, because obviously it's better to DM them one-on-one. That way you're gonna more likely, have control over the conversation and convert. However, if you get hundreds of DMs a day, or at least tens of DMs a day and hundreds of comments, go for this. I've seen literally everyone going for this, from 10k following pages all the way to 100k plus pages. So I forgot the name. I actually researched this recently. I'm gonna try to give you the bot which I've installed a few days ago. I mean, there's a lot of bots which you could install, but let me check. Yeah, ManyChat. I've used this. There's a lot of other tools which you could use, whatever you want to go for. Nothing sponsored here. But the reason why this is important is because I've wasted hours per day replying to comments and DMs. And the problem is, if you have multiple phones, trust me, you're going to miss out on a lot of sales. At the start, when I was getting a bunch of views, I did not reply to anyone. Why? Because all I thought about was they're not going to convert. However, the more experience I got, I realized maybe 1 in 20. You don't want to put your expectations too high. Maybe 1 in 20, 1 in 30 DMs might actually convert. So with the help of a bot, you're gonna make some sales. Next, the markets. So again, regarding markets, very important, similar to audience. The best way I can explain to you guys the roadmap to how you should be looking at this game, especially at the start. If you want to pick a product and you don't know what to go for, try to find a product which has preferably more of a higher age audience, so 21 plus. Okay, so maybe couple content, like couple products, or maybe female products. Trust me, these actually perform a lot. What else? I feel like anime niche doesn't work much. Okay, I'm gonna be so transparent here. I think in terms of like anime niche, car niche, there's maybe 1 or 2 products for each niche which actually works. For that reason, all of my future products are actually primarily focusing on a very hyper specific niche. For example, emotions. That's one of the top performing niches. So yeah, I want you to think about this next time you want to pick a product. Go for emotions. It's way better than wow factor. Everyone keeps on talking about wow factor. It's the biggest trap. And by the way, whoever you're watching and they're still saying right now that you should go for pump and dump, they are trying to distract you. Pump and dump does not work. The only pump and dump products which actually work are, again, if you have a good audience, you're running a product which is currently trendy, and you're lucky enough to go viral in the right place, right time. By place, I mean with the right audience. You might convert here and there, but this is not gonna make you, live with your business won't live that long. You know what I mean? I've spoken with my competitor of my winner, and we both agreed that we would rather make as low as 5k or 3k a month than make 20k a month and then for the rest of the year not make a penny. And that's the harsh truth of dropshipping. You don't want to pick a pump and dump just like everyone tells you, because there's no safe net. So let's say you spend this Q4, instead of running a product which is proven to work, you would test a bunch of products and you fail with them all. Maybe one of them sticks. You make like 10k here, but then for the rest of the year, you don't make a penny. It's worse than making with a long-term brandable product 2k here, 3k here, maybe 2k here, and then 10k, and then 15k. You know what I mean? So you want to look at it as the long-term game, because that's really how it is. And that's why try to avoid pump and dump, especially on IG. You could check IG. Everyone's going for a branded page because it converts better. So it's really important for you to understand this. There was a point I wanted to get to. So for the pump and dump, it's usually with a high quality audience. Yeah. What are we looking for in terms of picking a product? Usually, everyone says wow factor. That's the number one thing about pump and dump, right? Let me break it down quickly. Why do people say go for pump and dump? Because it's very trendy due to the wow factor. But the problem is, it's gonna be there for a few weeks to a month, and then it's over. Instead, if you focus on emotions, for example, or value, by the way, could be experience. I've spoken about this in the past. So if you can find a product which has high perceived value, or it has some sort of experience tied to it. A good example is the bot. So I'm not sure what it's called, but it was this bot with wheels, and then it has like I don't know what I'm trying to draw here, but it was this bot with a camera on it, and that bot was a pump and dump product. However, it had value, so it was for long distance couples, and they would, prank each other with it. So the marketing aspect of it created this experience sort of value, which made it convert. So try to find products which don't have a wow, or don't rely primarily on wow factor. Instead, they go for these two or a combination of them. That way you're more likely to make or find a winner. So yeah, the markets, again, Australia, Canada, Germany. I'm just gonna type EU, TBH, and US. Everyone's too focused on US. You don't really have to. You can go for any of these four. So yeah, let me see if there's anything missing. Any questions, boys? This was a very in-depth video. I wanted to clarify some things and to add to my previous guide new information. So 4 months ago, I've uploaded my first one. Very good value there, but this is more updated with extra information. Let me see if there's anything missing. But yeah, it feels like no matter where you live, you're gonna face this problem. You're gonna face this problem of finding good leads. For that reason, you need to highlight a few points which I've spoken about today, such as this one, really important. This strategy right here is making people a lot of sales. And I'm gonna actually be testing it on my second phone because it's kind of risky. When you get a lot of views, like 10 million views plus on a phone, you're getting good audience, like maybe 40% are going to the wrong countries, but you're still making sales. So I'm gonna have to try this out. The only reason I verify this or I approve of this is because my competitor, which is a good friend of mine, is actually going for this and is printing with it. So I'm gonna be trying it too. Yeah, this was, how long was this? Let me check. 35 minutes. Yeah, if there's any questions before we call it. But yeah, you could just DM me on Discord. Whoever is watching this from YouTube or anywhere, where you can find me is on Discord or on IG. And the only thing I have to offer is affiliate marketing, nothing else. So if you'd like to work with me on my current winning product brand, then hit me up. And yeah, I gotta go for now. So yeah, thanks for watching, boys. We'll have to call it. Yo, peace, Sampa. Peace, bro.